I'm now joined by independent crime and violence analyst, Dr. Chris Du Gok, to give us some analysis on the back of the National Commissioner coming out of him giving clarity to the ad hoc committee. Very good evening to you, Doc, and thank you so much for your time. We are here once again hearing some of that clarity from the National Police Commissioner. What did you make of just some of what was highlighted as statements coming from him, having listened to other witnesses throughout the months, and him still standing by that the disbandment of the PKTT, as they see it, was for preventing investigations in Gauteng?
Good evening and good evening to the viewers. Actually, I think General Masemola today really impressed me. I think he kept his cool. He was very, he gave quite a good evidence. And I think it was even better than the first time that he appeared at this committee and at the Matlanga Commission. And actually, there was quite a few. Most of the day was actually a repeat of the previous time. But and I agree with him. I mean, for me, and he didn't mention that, the fact that the minister wanted to disband the PKTT on New Year's Eve. You know, the only police who work on New Year's Eve are operational police. The rest, the so-called pen pushers, are not working on New Year's Eve. They have parties with other people. Now, I mean, why would you push it on that specific moment that it must immediately be disbanded? And the fact that the minister, in all the meetings that follow in the next year, in the new year, that is 2025, actually then uh, he was actually angry. I think at the third meeting that they don't disband this thing immediately. I agree with General Masemola. That actually is quite a lot of red flags.
Mm.
But also, what was interesting of today was that General Masemola actually say that it was only later in 2025, not long before General Mangwanazi made his news conference, that it actually became clear that there was much more behind the disbandment of the political Killing Stars team. Then it was not just about disbandment, and also even the filling of posts in crime intelligence, that there was something else. And it was only then when they realized that this is not a, that the minister made a mistake and he just felt on New Year's Eve that he wanted to disband this whole thing.
Mm.
But today there was also some other very revealing incidents. I think one of the most revealing ones was the Honorable Songwe, which actually came with the request that there was a request for him to go to Durban, and there he had an internet interview with General Khan. He only realized it when he was there that he now had this interview with General Khan, and that Khan was actually asking him for a personal meeting in Johannesburg. Now, I'm a little bit worried. I mean, here we have the ad hoc committee. It seems the ad hoc committee must now finish before the end of the week.
Mm.
So tomorrow they're not even going to call General Kumalu, which I think is a very central figure, back. They're not going to call anybody except General Mangwanazi tomorrow. And it seems then they're going to finish the process and write their report. But although General Khan and there was other members who also mentioned this, um, although General Khan was mentioned in all of these meetings for the last 6 months at the Malanga Commission and here,
Mm.
I mean, it is a fact that it seems he's not going to be called at least to the ad hoc committee. I hope that he will be called to the Matlanga Commission to come and explain himself, because I think it will be very bad if we don't get the full picture. because I mean, I think this, and I always say this is allegations. This is all allegations. It's allegation and counter allegation. But I think if there's serious allegations, like what the Honourable Member Songwe have pointed out today, this evening at about 7 o'clock, I think then that person must appear, and at least at the Matlanga Commission, so that South Africa, not me, not you, but South Africa can hear the story, the counter allegation, if I can call it that.
Most certainly. It's very important, like you're saying, Doc, that this is an inquisitorial process. And for us to be able to piece together some of these puzzles, it's quite important for us to get the other side of the story as well. Let's just take it back to the 4th of March, where the National Coloured Congress MP, Fadiel Adams, claimed that SAPS Commissioner Fani Masemola had not been honest about his testimony about the security clearances of top officials. He was testifying before the ad hoc committee on alleged classified documents implicating top crime intelligence officers.
On the 12th of March, I inquired of the National Commission about the top-level security clearance of certain SAPS officials. Included in this was the issue of General Dumisani Khumalo's first clearance, which was alleged was fraudulent. In the Portfolio Committee meeting, the National Commissioner claimed that General Khumalo's clearance was above board. Again, Brigadier Tiani Shlongweni came to this portfolio and said that it was impossible that it could be legit because it was done in a matter of days. It normally takes about a year. So the National Commissioner lied to Parliament, but he faced no sanction.
There's been allegations that Lieutenant General Kwanazi, Lieutenant General Khumalo, and Madondo, they do not have security clearance. And it's also referenced in the leaked IGI report. So can you perhaps just start off by telling us how does it work? Is it only senior management in SAPS that requires security clearance and vetting? Or to what level does it extend, up or down? And then how it works as briefly as possible.
Okay, thanks, Honourable Chair. As briefly as possible. As we speak, Lieutenant General Khumalo does have a security clearance, but maybe as a beginning, as an opening to that is that, well, it looks like they have been targeted, I don't know, by Mokhosi and IGI. Yeah. It's not only them that don't have security clearance, it's many people. And why they target this, I don't know. But
are you confirming that they don't have security clearance?
No. I'm still going to come to that.
Okay.
I was just saying other people don't have. But Lieutenant General Khumalo does have security clearance. He applied for a security clearance, I think, in 2018 to crime intelligence. And I think it took 2 years to be received in head office by 2020. And they processed it. And eventually in 2022, December, they issued him with a security clearance. He have it. And it just so happened that the same December, I appointed him head of the crime intelligence. And I directed him to apply again for security clearance at the State Security Agency. And he applied, and he was then eventually issued with top security clearance from the SSA. So you have 2 security clearances.
So that's the National Police Commissioner answering there to questions about security clearance, that being for top officials within the South African Police Service. Doc, I think maybe you'll be able to clarify this for us, especially when it comes to security clearance. What is the significance of having a security clearance, and for those that serve within the South African Police Service to be vetted? And what are the implications when you do have people that are serving in the service and they do not have a valid security clearance?
Yeah, I'm very glad that you played this piece and that I can now react on that. I worked under actually myself and General Masamola, he was my senior, were in control of crime intelligence at a certain time, around about 2012, when General Mangwanazi was the acting national commissioner. It is important that senior officials, and especially when we come to the crime intelligence world and the organized crime investigation area and the Hawks, that those people should have top secret security clearance vetting, because I mean they work with information which is very important and which is secretive. But it is not the end of the world. I mean, if a person is appointed and it takes some time, unfortunately, crime intelligence didn't have the human resources. They deteriorated in certain sections of crime intelligence, and they can't vet people on a very short period of time. So it may be that somebody gets appointed and that person is not vetted, and then the vetting process continue. And then if it's found that this person have some background which you can't give them top secret or secret security clearance or even confidential, then that person, can't serve in that position anymore. It's unfortunate that that is the situation. Actually, it should be done in days, or let's say in 2 or 3 months. I don't think it's more time is needed. I think more important, much more important, to fight organized crime and to have the right officials in place is life audit. I think that is much lifestyle audit, a lifestyle audit. Because you can have a top security clearance, but just next month, after you have received it this month, a organized criminal can come to you, a person from the underworld, and present you with 3 million rand. And then immediately you fall for that 3 million rand. But that will be visible in your lifestyle. If you receive money different from your salary, it will be immediately showing in your lifestyle. How can you afford Lamborghinis? How can you afford Ferraris?
Right.
And those kind of things. So vetting is important, but it's not the end, the beginning and the end of the world if you don't have vetting. And it will take some time because there's a backlog. But in any case, General Khumalo, I think it's very important that he have got vetting. He got vetting, and even what the Honourable Member Adams said, that it took a few days to give him, a top secret clearance. The fact of the matter is, that was repeated as at the SSA, and he got even security clearance from them. So really, I think the Honourable Adams put up the wrong saddle on the wrong horse, to be honest.
And you're saying there, Doc, that it's lifestyle audits that you would rather have an emphasis on as opposed to this vetting. As we close off this conversation, Doc, I mean, we're at the tail end of the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee. Is the picture any clearer for the committee when it comes to infiltration within the South African Police Service?
Well, the committee today was quite impressed with what happened there, but I'm a little bit worried that maybe they didn't have enough time, because clearly there's some people that should have given evidence to the committee. But I think they've got a good idea. And especially now after today's evidence or repeat evidence of General Masamola, which I think was very enlightening. I think they've got an idea at least of the infiltration of organized crime, political infiltration in the South African Police Service. This triangle. I just want to say one thing more, and that is, I mean, this is a example, the specific syndicate that have infiltrated here. But I think there are many more which we haven't seen in this hearing. Maybe at the Madlanga Commission, we will see a little bit more because they've got more time.
All right. Dr. Chris de Kock, thank you so much for your time and for your analysis. It's always appreciated.